I'm using black. Black is fine. If you get into this, I am using 10-aught thread that I get. It's a Vivus thread, and my 10-aught Vivus is as strong as some of you guys 8 and 6. I like it because it's much, much smaller in diameter, and it adds less weight to the fly. So I lost my focus here. No, I didn't. I guess that'll work. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try and get this all the way out of the way. Okay, I lay a little thread base, but notice I am not crowding the eye, and I'm just wrapping back to where the bend starts. And this is a size 14 2XL, and the 16 does really well on this pattern as well. Okay, the first thing I'm going to tie on is going to be the last thing I'm going to be wrapping, and that's some hackle. So I've got some hackle here. Where is it? Got to find the end. Okay. In your book, I know it says that you use the small end. You tie the small end on first, and that is the kind of hackle I had. I've got a couple strips of this that is much longer. You can see how long this is. If you have this kind of hackle, I would recommend that you tie it on by the thick end, not the tail end. But since I've got this, I'm going to tie that. The tie-in is no different, but I want you to see, okay, get in focus here. See how much of that bare stem I'm showing? If you use the other end, do the same thing. The hackle that I had available out here for the class is not as uniformly. See how long this is? So I would recommend that you tie on at the bend with the small end, but pull the hackle back like we've done before, trim it a little bit, and the key to this is leaving some of that stem. My biggest challenge on this fly is when I wrap the hackle. I have not completely mastered this. But if you leave some extra stem, see how I'm leaving some extra stem from where I'm going to tie it on? I'm leaving that extra stem, and this wrapped on me. Let me redo that. I'm leaving that extra stem because when I make my first wrap or two, I want that stem wrapping without the barbs on it. If you can tie yours in that way, just watch this first tie, guys. If you try to keep up with me, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to get behind. So the sequence of tying these things on is the hackle first, then I'm going to take, I don't know, 5 or 6 strands of peacock HERL. I'm just going to grab a wad of it here if I have too much. There's always some short stuff here. I don't want the short stuff in there. I'm going to get rid of it. Okay, I've got, you can see I've got 5 or 6 strands here. And I'm going to make sure that, see how some of this stuff at the very end has no color to it at all? Mm-hmm. I don't want to use any of that. So I'm going to go up a ways until all those strands have some color to it, and I'm going to trim that off. Okay. And I'm going to lay those strands on top, and I'm just going to make some easy wraps. I'll go back over this the second time. Just watch this first time. Okay? And I'm going to get that tied in right back here where I tied in my hackle. Okay?
How many do you have? 3?
No, you want 6, 5 or 6 at least.
Oh, 5 or 6.
5 or 6, just like it says in the book. Okay? And I've got my foam I have found it doesn't make the end quite as bulky if I bevel that cut. See how I beveled that cut? And I'm going to tie that in. I don't want any more of that tied in. I want to keep it as thin as I can right there. And those are my three materials. So I'm going to go up to just behind the eye. I'm going to half hitch that. And I'm going to get that out of my way. Okay? Now I'm ready to start wrapping my foam. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. If you put a lot of pressure, it's going to get really skimpy. So just put enough pressure on that you can kind of control it, because I want that yellow to be pretty pronounced. So I'm not putting much pressure on that at all. I'm going to get it up here by my eye. I'm going to get my bobbin up. I'm going to bring that over, and I'm going to try and I've got a couple of wraps on it, and then I'm going to trim this extra off. Okay? I'd recommend that you make sure you got that attached, and then you can half hitch that. Okay. Now here's where it starts getting a little complicated. The next step is take one of the longer strands of your peacock HERL. Some of them are going to be longer than others. And I'd like to grab one that's going to have quite a bit of color in it. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to bring that, get my thread out of the way. I'm going to bring that over, and I'm going to make some wraps, even wraps, up over the yellow foam, like so. And then I'm going to tie that off, get that tied on. You see some people on YouTube, they'll just yank this off. I don't do that anymore, because about every other time I do that, it pulls out short, and then it unwraps, and then I lose what little religion I have left. So that's the first step. We've got those strands. Then grab the rest of your peacock HERL. You want to keep those close together. You want to bring that right over the top. Okay? I've got that attached. Then I can trim this off. And if you hang on to it with those ends nice and neatly cut, it's ready for your next fly. All right? Now, I'm going to make sure that that's not going anywhere. And I'm going to try and get back away from the eye a little bit, and I'm going to half hitch that again.
I'll just get another one.
Okay? Now, this is the challenge part for me. You can tell that the angle of your, the body of your fly is kind of slanted. And if you have your shaft exposed and don't have any barbs on it, you can usually get that first wrap right up so that they go, for the most part, horizontal. Okay? I've got that looking fairly good. So I'm going to, this is old hackle. Guess what happened?
Yep.
It broke. All right, let me see if I can salvage this. I don't know if I've got enough here to salvage or not. We'll see. This may be a pretty sparse looking crackle back. So I don't know if I don't know where it broke. I don't know if it broke right where I tied it on. I'm going to make my wraps a little bit wider than normal because Okay. I may be able to salvage this. Let's see. Yeah, I think I did. Okay, then I'm going to trim this. And all that's left is to tie the head. Get that out of the way. I'm going to whip finish this and try to keep it out of the hackle, because I got my hackle standing up pretty nice. And that is a crackle back.